If you watch some American videos about home gyms on YouTube, you might have thought, well, that's not for me. I don't have 10,000 euros to spend, nor a 3-car garage that I can stack up with equipment. Well, I'm here to tell you that you need neither of those to start your own home gym and that you can have great workouts with pretty cheap equipment and a pretty small space. Don't believe me? Well, stay put. Hey guys, Johan here with Home Gym Europe, and if you're on the verge of starting a home gym but are actually paralyzed by what you've seen on YouTube, this video is for you. Having a home gym is absolutely awesome. I've trained more than 10 years in commercial gyms before starting my own and watched dozens of videos on YouTube before finally going for it. To me, having a home gym is truly about freedom. Freedom to have your own space with your own rules. Want to train at 4 in the morning? Help yourself. You like powerlifting, bodybuilding, CrossFit, high rocks? Get the equipment for your needs. And change it as your goals change. Want to try strongman? Get yourself a cheap sandbag and start with it. Another aspect that I love about having my own home gym is obvious, but probably the biggest upside for me. Your home gym is at home. Shocker, right? Jokes aside, having your gym at home is no commute time. And this is a game changer because there are so many more time slots open to train. Best example is when I just had my son and my wife was obviously super tired. I couldn't just say, "Bye honey, I'm going out the house for an hour and a half to train. Good luck with the baby." But with the equipment I had at home, I could just train during naps and I didn't feel like letting my wife down. And if the nap was shorter than expected or anything happened, I was already there and could take a break or just split up my workout. Those are simply training sessions that I would have completely skipped if I didn't have my own home gym. And in less extreme cases, I feel like it is way harder to skip sessions when you have the home gym. There are just so few excuses you can use. No traffic, not too many resolutioners in January or September, no busy machines or benches, no getting out in the cold. And that's so freaking great. Of course, I'm not going to say it only has upsides. If you only get motivated by training with a gym buddy or by meeting people at the gym, then you might have a hard time finding the motivation to work out on your own. There's no coach at home, so it's probably better if you aren't a complete beginner, although it's pretty easy today to find good programs with videos teaching the correct technique for your exercises. So I'm not here to say that everybody should own a home gym. There are definitely some people it's not for. But to me, the advantages greatly outweigh the downsides. The two main barriers of entry that I see come up most often is I don't have the space or I don't have the money. And this video aims directly to address those. The goal is to show you that you can start your home gym pretty much no matter your budget and the space that you have available. Of course, the most basic setup will only cost you a few tens of euros and can make for a great start. Buy some bands, get yourself a pull-up bar and maybe some loadable dumbbells and you have something to work with in pretty much any space available. But let's consider that you've already done that and you want to get to the next step. What direction should you go? Well, let me tell you how I started my first real home gym. At the time, my girlfriend, who became my wife in the meantime, and we had a 2-car closed underground garage in the underground parking lot of our apartment building. You could park 2 cars, one behind the other, and with some extra space in the back for storage. I had already spent a full COVID lockdown doing push-ups, pull-ups, and bend work, and when the second one in France was announced, we were like, not this time. So we decided to build a home gym in a rush using half of the garage and try to get some kind of equipment to train. And here is what it ended up looking like. Let's check out what we had. Most, if not all of the equipment at the time was bought at Decathlon. If you don't know this name, it is a sporting goods megastore that's very well developed in France and in some countries in Europe, and it also has some stores in the US. It's probably the best cost-quality ratio you can get for most sports and outdoor activities you can think of. It used to be only entry-level stuff, but they even started to make some pretty advanced gear that started to compete with some very reputable brands. What's great is that they design and manufacture most of the products they sell, and their engineering department is top tier, making innovative products in so many domains. They make some pretty solid gym equipment, and it was just natural for me to start my own gym with their stuff, since the second-hand market just wasn't an option at the time. Everybody was trying to gather something to train, so it was definitely not an option. So this is exactly what I bought from them. A Corinth Bench 900. Corinth is the name of the Decathlon brand for all strength gear training. That's an adjustable bench that has 6 back pad positions and 2 seat positions. It also had a decline position and an attachment to secure your legs. I also bought a Rack 500 that had 2 pairs of sliding J-cups, an integrated pull-up bar, and some storage pins on the back where I used to put my 20 kilos plates for stability mainly. I also got a standard 2-meter barbell that had a 20-meter diameter all along with standard plates of 0.5, 1, 2, 5, 10, and 20 kilos. Let me tell you that getting some of those plates was a hell of an adventure. Everybody wanted them at the time when lockdown number 2 started, and we had to drive hundreds of kilometers sometimes to just get a 20 kilo plate. I also got a pair of loadable standard dumbbells that I could just use with my standard plates. And we also got some colors that could go on both the dumbbells and the barbell, and a bunch of bands to add some sort of extra resistance and add even more variety. And that's pretty much it. Could I deadlift 250 kilos with this bar? Definitely not. With a max weight of 160 kilos, I wouldn't even have tried it. Was it the greatest setup of all time? Far from that. But you can't imagine how happy I was with this. It's some very simple equipment on not even the surface of a one-car garage, and I could rack up some incredible workouts just with that. Here's what I paid for those at the time. The bench was 120 euros, the rack 150 euros, and the barbell 40 euros. The pair of dumbbells was 18 euros, and the plates were 1.5 euro per kg at the time. So let's say 150 kilos were 225 euros. The set of bands was 26 euros. So that's a grand total of 579 euros to have enough equipment to have great workouts, train every single muscle group, and have good enough quality to not worry about durability. You could probably even go lower than that if getting the equipment used, which is a great idea, by the way, even though gym equipment isn't as common in Europe on those platforms as it is in the US, but you can definitely get some great findings. Decathlon have since upgraded some of these products, notably the Bench 900, where they added extra back pad positions to get to 9. I haven't had the opportunity to try out the new version, but it seems like they also upgraded the padding, which is some pretty good news, since the one on the old version wasn't that great. They also modified the rack to make it foldable, which makes it an even more efficient solution if you're limited on space. And they did it while increasing the max weight that went from 180 to 200 kilos and 130 kilos for weighted pull-ups. The J-cups aren't sliding anymore, they went to square tubing, and that makes the racks compatible with dips and landmine attachments, which is pretty sweet as it adds even more versatility. The price rocketed though, from 150 euros in 2020 to 250 euros today. Since 2020, when I bought all this, inflation made the cost of this setup substantially higher. Here are the prices updated in 2025. The bench is now 150 euros, the rack, as I said, 250 euros now, the barbell didn't change price at 40 euros, the pair of dumbbells is now 20 euros, and what's the most egregious, the plates are now 2.5 euros per kg, so 150 kilos now are now 375 euros, and the set of bands is still 26 euros. So the total now reaches 861 euros. That's a 51% increase since 2020, which is actually not negligible. But it's still under 1,000 euros for a pretty nice setup. So this is what I started with, and I kept this setup for a long time, only adding some rubber mats for flooring, whole-store mats aren't as easy to find in Europe, to protect the concrete floor on my garage for deadlifts, for a total of around 300 euros for 8 15mm thick pads of 1 meter by 1 meter. After some time, I slowly started adding some stuff and replacing some here and there to incrementally improve my setup. That's one of the main aspects that I want you to have in mind. You don't need to start off buying a ton of equipment and spending a ton of money from the get-go. Just find the equipment that fits your type of training, buy some good quality but still pretty cheap stuff, and build from there. There's a saying in English that goes, buy once, cry once. I don't think it directly applies to home gyms. I would probably start with a cheaper setup to just make sure the home gym lifestyle matches your personality and training. even if it means continuing going to your commercial gym for some workouts if they require some more equipment, for example. And then get some great equipment when you reach the limits of your third generation and decide to go all in on your home gym. I just see too many people spending a ton of money on equipment, never having had a home gym and never using it. And then they just end up selling their stuff shortly after. That's not the way I would want you to go. Of course, if you're absolutely sure that you will use your home gym many days a week and never look back, and that you have the money for it, then be my guest and get some great quality stuff right away. But I would advise you to be more cautious at the beginning. Okay, so that was version 1.0 of my home gym. Incremental improvements starting with getting a better barbell and some Olympic plates to go with it. I went with a 20 kg Ohio Power Bar from Rogue with black zinc coating. It's pretty much the gold standard for home gym if your main focus is powerlifting, since this is a 29mm bar with center knurl and a pretty aggressive knurling. That's a great bar that allows you to do your power lifts and pretty much any barbell exercise no problem. But avoid it if you plan on doing Olympic lifts, as the center knurl will not be a good idea. That's still my main barbell today. I use it pretty much every session and it's still in great shape with minimal care. Going from a 28mm standard barbell to this was a night and day difference, since I could really go hard on my power lifts without any issue. I also bought some iron Olympic plates, of course. I went with iron because it was the cheaper solution at the time compared to bumper plates. And I don't plan on doing any Olympic lifting or CrossFit type of exercises. And like a basic gym bro, I do like the sound iron plates make, even though this might be something to consider if you want your equipment to make minimal noise. Prices of bumper plates have dropped since, so today they are probably around the same price as iron plates. You'll need once again to think about how you'll use them to pick the ones that match your style of training. I ordered my plates from the website Helisports, which was one of the very few that had them in stock when I wanted to order them in early 2021. Here are the two orders that I made, totaling 858 euros for 257.5 kilos. That's 3.3 euros per kg, which is pretty much market price even today. If I were to redo it today, I'd probably go with Athletica, which is again one of the best quality cost ratio in Europe. The same order would be 830 euros, including shipping today, and it's the overall same design with handles on the plates, which is absolutely amazing, but in black instead of the gray ones I have. Those plates are really gorgeous and they would absolutely match the color scheme I have in my gym. But yes, going back to this plate design, I'm surprised those aren't more popular. I never see plates like this in American home gyms, but they are really easy to grab and that's clutch. That's one of the few points where I think we have an advantage over our American friends. Rogue plates are very pretty as well, especially the deep dish ones, but damn are they expensive. And again, in terms of practicality, I find that the ones with handles blow the Rogue ones out of the water. Of course, the quality of the Helisports one is no match to Rogue, as the paint is already chipping off on some plates, but nothing very major and it doesn't impact use at all. I also added some quality of life stuff to the home gym with some IKEA control panels that I put on the wall to store the small stuff and accessories, and a mirror in front of my rack, officially to check my form on my lifts, but realistically more for ego reasons and another gym bro need. I also added a plywood platform in the middle, but that's something that I don't recommend anymore, since it's very hard to find such a big platform that would remain flat without some kind of treatment. And I don't feel like it makes a huge difference compared to rubber mats. I also improved the lighting going LED, hid the storage unit in the back with a curtain, added some small accessories here and there, like a standard diameter chip curl bar, also from Decathlon. And I also added some speakers, and voila! That was the final form of my first home gym. Pretty cool if you ask me. As you can see, I started pretty cheap and then gradually improved it to reach a place where I was able to work out entirely at home, that fitted my needs very well, and that had already some very good quality equipment. So at this point, if we update our cost, that's 300 euros for the mats, 858 euros for the plates, and 410 euros for the Ohio Power Bar. Not including all the rest of the accessories, that's a total of 2,147 euros and 2,429 euros with today's pricing at Decathlon. With less than 2,500 euros, you get something like a 20 square meter home gym that's super versatile. You're able to train exclusively at home if you want to, with both barbell and double exercises, a pull-up bar, and the possibilities grow exponentially with a little brain juice. And as you can probably tell, you can even probably reduce that total if you want to by buying a little bit less expensive equipment or buying used. Of course, that's still a pretty big investment. Not everybody have this kind of money to put in a home gym, and I know I'm privileged. But if that's the way you want to go, I feel like it's a good investment for your future, and to me, the time saved commuting makes it absolutely worth it. I'm not going to try and convince you that having home gym saves you money. That's a lie. You can train in a commercial gym for pretty cheap in Europe. Less than 20 euros per month in France at Basic Fit, for example. And you would need many years of installments to match the cost of your home gym. And a home gym is always evolving. Whatever you might be telling yourself or your spouse, it's never really finished. You're probably constantly trying to find ways to improve it and finding new stuff that you want to buy. It's not a cheap hobby. But again, it's also investment on yourself and your family, as the health benefits of staying fit and working out regularly are unmatched, and having a home gym allows you to do just that. Now, if money is less of a constraint but space is, here's my brother and sister-in-law's home gym. They live in Luxembourg and have a very small space in their basement where they wanted to build their home gym, as they've been training in commercial gyms for a while now. When they moved, I finally managed to convince them to jump on the home gym bandwagon, as with 3 kids, time to go to the gym was at the premium. They asked me to set them up with good quality stuff, and I was working with something like 6 square meters, so an even smaller space than I had. Here's what their setup looks like. Pretty cool, right? Here's the breakdown of what we got from them. Most of the stuff is from Rep Fitness, since their products are available in Europe now, and I found that's a great quality to cost ratio. The quality is slightly lower than Rogue, but very close. And the compatibility with other products from European brands is better, since they are made on metric specs and not imperial. The rack they got is a 16-inch deep PR5000. The barbell is a black diamond bar, and the bench an AB 4100. We added a bunch of attachments to the rack for versatility, namely dips attachments, a landmine, spotter arms and J-cups of course, leg rollers and storage pins to store the plates off the floor. For the plates, we went with the one from Atletica we saw earlier, and the mats are from the same website I've been using since my first home gym. The link is in the description if you want to check them out. We added some pulleys and cable to set up a simple DIY pulley system for lat put downs and all high pulley exercises, and boom! And then, what I think is an absolute game changer in a home gym, is if you can afford it of course, is adjustable dumbbells. We went with the adjustable dumbbells from the French website Unistrength, the HR41, that go from 4 to 41.5 kg with 1.5 kilo increments. Those are a copycat of the TrueLap 8592, or they maybe even come from the same factory as the TrueLap, but they are almost 300 euros cheaper in Europe. Adjustable dumbbells are awesome in a home gym context, as they adjust very quickly. You get the equivalent of a lot of dumbbells in a tiny fraction of the space needed with fixed dumbbells, and they are plenty robust enough in a home gym if you don't throw your dumbbells around like a maniac. They are very happy with those dumbbells, and I got to admit, I'm pretty jealous of their dumbbells. I might try and make a review next time I visit them. So there you have it. This is how you get a very solid home gym in a very small space, but packed with a ton of versatility. Here's the cost for this home gym. The rack with all the attachments was around 1,800 euros, the bench 360 euros, the barbell 290 euros, and the plates for 215 kilos 625 euros. The colors were 25 euros, the mats 300 euros, and the adjustable dumbbells were 858 euros. That comes to a grand total of 4,295 euros. And with that, you get great quality equipment, probably better than 95% of commercial gyms in France and probably in Europe, and that's equipment that will last until you decide not to use it, not the other way around. And again, those dumbbells, just amazing how valuable they are in a home gym and the versatility you get from them. They are on top of my most wanted items to add to my home gym. So, you might be wondering, but what about your current home gym, yo? Well, that's going to be in a future video, as I plan to take you with me on a tour of my current setup. So make sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for that. So, there you have it. proof that you can start a home gym with a small budget and a small space. Again, there are even cheaper ways to start your home gym and obviously way more expensive setups you can imagine. But now, let me ask you, how did you start your home gym journey? Did you start small or went big from the get-go? Let me know how you did in the comments. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. À plus!